Using a spear in formation is different.
This is the Kitsune clan, a group of sword enthusiasts who like cosplay, reenactment, and historical martial arts. If you have similar interests, feel welcomed.
We have so far not looked too deep into the use of the spear and spear formation, but we did a bit in this direction, and we've already recognized using a spear in formation is a bit different than using a spear when you are alone. And now we want to deepen this exploration. We have to think that a lot of the cool moves that we have learned with Yari and other pole weapons require quite some space around us. And a lot of what we learn in the katas and whatever are situations where you stand alone against a lot of other enemies and you move back and forth and around you, and so you have space and it's about covering that space. If we think of the main use of the spear in a formation, in a fight situation with a lot of people left and right and behind, and maybe in some cases in front of you, the change of the spear definitely differs. And you can, of course, explore YouTube for this aspect. And what you often see when it comes to spear formations is a lot of people in formation and they simply step forward. And I think that has something to it, so that there's basically no technique anymore when we go into formation. On the other hand, we know why shouldn't we protect ourselves in a formation? Yeah, the problem is exactly this formation. If I defend an incoming attack that is directed at me with my spear too far to the side, it will hit the person next to me or the person behind me. So deflecting a spear in a two-person combat is something else to deflecting a spear in formation, because I have to care for more than just me. And that's a major aspect that has been dealt with in some fantasy tropes, I would say so. But what does it mean for my technique? So, number one, if we look at the techniques in formation, I can simply not deflect the incoming attack too far. And too far is not very far. So what I can basically do is I can deflect the spear far enough so that it just doesn't hit me. Otherwise, if I'm pushing it too far to the side, I have the trouble that the person next to me will be hit. When we looked at the Kama Yari or Jumonji Yari mechanics, we recognized that it could be really interesting to break the formation of the opponent to a certain degree by deflecting one spear quite a lot so that it interferes with the spears of the other attackers. That is something we cannot easily provide with the normal spear, but we can think about also about direction. Where can we deflect a spear better or worse? And the direction of deflection that we've seen with Kamayari or Jumonji Yari, deflecting upwards, that is probably a very good idea, because if we deflect upwards, there is no other person that will easily be hit by this incoming weapon. Same way, if we deflect downwards, if we manage to get the spear of the opponent into the ground, and we can even step on it maybe and break off parts, that would be even better because it would provide us more control. Danger is, of course, if we deflect downwards and the opponent lunges forward, we will probably get a cut into the legs. So more gain, but also more risk if we think about it. If we look at classical spear defenses, there are ones with the long outside part of the spear. There are ones with a part of the spear that are between our hands, and sometimes you have this feeling, oh, why should I deflect with the spear part between my hands? It's much safer if I'm in a two or one-on-one combat situation to deflect with the outside part. Yes, but here in formation, we recognize that if we can deflect very subtly with this region of the spear between our hands, we can much better manipulate the tip of the spear to hit the other person that has just been attacking us. If we get deflected, so if we attack and we get deflected, there's of course the problem that we might get the attack from the person that just deflected us. On the other hand, as our spear just got displaced, we could look, of course, for an action that could destroy the formation of the opponent. And by retrieving the spear, maybe with a back cut a bit to the side, we could already go in this direction. So I'm talking here about a lot about the deflection. We have so far not further explored what can I do to further disturb the opponent, in the sense of how can I further attack some of the other people around the person that I have just been attacking. And that's, of course, then a matter of getting the overview of the situation. And that's where it gets really, really tricky. If you've ever tried to fight more than one opponent, you have recognized the main problem is the sensorial units that we have and the main processor behind it. In other words, our brain. We usually have already trouble recognizing all the action that a single person does to us, even if we are very, very focused. And getting the actions of several people is even more tricky. And in the formation situation, the point is further complicated by our colleagues, our supporters, our co-warriors that are on our side, and they are also doing stuff. If we look at modern forces that act in groups, they spend a lot of time training how to move in groups. And that would be something that we would need to do to better understand this aspect. I don't know how much time you spend in formation work. We rarely do that. We have done that for certain weapons and not so much for others. For the spear, we do it less often than we should. We have done it a bit for other blade weapons, because also with swords and machetes and whatever, there are historical components to that. If you want to understand the gladius, for example, it's probably very necessary to train with shield and informations. With the spear, it's often the problem, how do you get enough spears? That sounds like a trivial one, but I've lamented in quite some videos about the problem that the availability of good training spears could be improved, and also the price situation could be improved. And of course, even more so, the protective gear situation could be improved quite a bit. For really big formations, you would need a lot of people, and you would need a lot of comparable equipment, and you would need some coordination and places for training. Here you see where this is going. I think formation work is something that has been still underestimated, and there are discussions on YouTube that probably people that are good at fighting with a spear are not good in formation work. I think I saw it with one YouTuber, I don't remember the name, who argued that taking a marching band and giving them spears would be much more effective than having a group of trained persons with a spear and trying to explain them how formations work. So a lot of things depend on the scale, and that is an important aspect because, as I always say, we need to understand why some of the historical movements are how they are, and I think a lot of them are only understandable in the formations. And what we did here today was just giving us a very minor little glimpse of what formation could mean for the spear, and we need to explore that more in future videos. For the moment, what we presented, I hope it could inspire you, and I hope to see you around next time.